Don't let rejection become your identity. You don't want rejection to become your expectation because you get told no so often. You got to grind anyways. The appointment today at 2 o'clock is not attached to the appointment tomorrow at 3 o'clock. Just because this guy told me no today doesn't mean I should be expecting a no tomorrow. The people who make it in business don't get lucky. The people who are making it because they don't stop swinging the bat. They don't stop putting in the repetition. They don't stop trying. That's why they make it. All right, let's be real. There is a part of this business that no one talks about. And it's the part that most people experience but don't talk about. Where you're excited, you're fired up, you show up to the meeting, you're all in, you're pumped, you get out, you post something on your story about how excited you are to make everybody think you're winning. And in your head, guess what? The whole time, you're drowning, you're scared, you're frustrated. But then you go to another meeting and you're pumped and you take a bunch of notes and you get out of the meeting and you're like, oh, I'm on top of the world. I could run through a freaking wall right now. And you book appointments and then your best friend cancels on you. And then your aunt calls you and tells you to stop bugging everybody in the family. And then the person you thought you could count on for sure calls you and is like, bro, you really think this is going to work? This isn't going to work. This isn't going to happen. And it's just a left hook. And then you're sitting outside the office in your car all by yourself, staring at your phone, second guessing the whole business, full of self-doubt, anxieties at a level 10. You're wondering whether or not you made the right choice, whether or not this is something you could do or should do. That's the entrepreneur paranoia right there. That is the definition of trying to sell and promote and live the dream while internally you're drowning and panicking and frustrated and full of worry and living the freaking nightmare. And guess what? That's what we're going to talk about today. And we have not covered this topic in a while. We covered it in episode 4, I believe, of season 1, how to sell the dream when you're living the nightmare. First off, I want to thank you guys for all the support. We're excited. This is episode 3 of season 5. So much good feedback. Instagram reels are going crazy on shares and saves, and it's awesome because I still to this day have conversations with my own teammates, my best people, who are sitting around and they're doing exactly what I just described to you. They're to the world, they're freaking pumped. They're making posts about how great they're doing. I mean, and some of them are $30, $40, $50, $60,000 months. And then when they lay their head on the pillow at night and they're by themselves, they're still panicking and they're still worried and they're still full of anxiety and they're still just in this constant fear of like, tomorrow I'm going to get on and my whole team's going to be gone. They're all going to quit. And it doesn't necessarily go away anytime soon. And I want to have this episode tonight today, I should say, so that we could create this space for all of you because I know exactly what that feels like. I've been there so many times in the exact same spot where you're in, where you're sitting there and you start to panic, or you were just doing so well and then something happened and you don't even know what it is. You can't even pinpoint it. You're like, how did I go from so much momentum to nothing? Almost, it seems like it happened overnight. Now, I got news for you. It didn't happen overnight. It happened over probably a couple weeks where you took your foot off the gas a little bit, but then it just hits you all at once. I've had, in my career, so many countless times where I sat in my car. In fact, I think for like, at least, I don't know if women do this like guys do, but for guys, this is just like a form of therapy to sit in your car when you get home. I'll sit in my car for an hour before I even come in the house. Just like chilling, like I just park, recline the seat. It's like the most relaxing, unwinding thing ever. But I've had so many times where I sat there in a panic, like, what the heck? Looking at my calendar's empty, trying to figure out, like, what is going on? Am I doing something wrong? Feeling like I'm doing something wrong, but then knowing I'm not, but I can't explain why I have 0 appointments on the schedule and nothing going on in the business when I feel like I'm doing everything I'm supposed to be doing. I've had that so many times, you guys, so many times. And that's why we're talking about this today, because I know probably every single one of you listening to this episode right now have or are currently And if not, you will experience exactly what I'm talking about if you stick to it. So here we go. We're going to dive in. How do you sell the dream, promote the dream, envision the dream, genuinely chase the dream, and lead from a place of going after the dream while you're living the freaking nightmare? While you're panicking, while internally you're drowning, while you're putting up a story about how great business is and how awesome it is that you quit your job and how you made the best decision on the planet, and then you're crying yourself to sleep at night. How do you win in that spot? Number one, I wrote down, you got to get back to why you started. Why did you start to begin with? What was the reason? Oh, man, I literally get a text right now while I'm doing this. It's a celebration text from someone. I won't say their name. Full exclamation points, full caps. Finally out of the chargeback, because commission cycles just hit right now. This is exactly what I'm talking about. This person's making multiple six figures. Guess what? They've been feeling like they're living the nightmare for weeks, even though they're crushing it. Number one, you got to get back to why you started. Not the fluffy reasons, by the way. The real ones. What do you really want? Get clear on it. This is what I want. We talked about this, the season finale, I think, of season 4, where I talked about planning out your new year and setting goals and stuff. What do you really want? The stuff that has you going, I am done living like this. I'm sick of it. I actually had this experience again, a flashback, even though it was fake. It was a flashback. I went to the bank. I went to the gas station a couple days ago. And Ronnie hadn't moved our commission checks, and we hadn't moved the money, and we always keep the bank account like we're broke because it makes us work. And so I'm pumping gas, and my truck takes like 30 gallons, I think, of gas. I don't know. It's like $200 every time I go. It stopped at $19. And I get out, I'm like, what the heck? This is so annoying to me when the thing stops self-pumping and you got to go pump it again and reset it. And it wouldn't go. Stop. I'm like, so I pull up Wells Fargo, $0.00 in the bank account. I was like, oh, dang. It was like a flashback to me of the days when I actually had $0. It reminded me how I would used to go to the gas station and I could never fill my tank, ever. Can I get $6 on 2, please? Can I get $3.80 on 1? Can I get $11 on 4? Like, that's how I used to do it. I swear to you, I used to do that. I remember when I was counting change in the cup holder and taking it up to the teller at the cashier. The real reasons, the ones where you're like, maybe you don't even know what you want, but you know what you don't want. You're like, I can't see past the bills, but I can tell you all the crap I'm freaking sick of. I'm sick of never filling up my gas tank. I'm sick of having to worry about where we go eat. I'm sick of not having to be able to buy whatever I want at the grocery store. I'm sick of our refrigerator not being full. I'm sick of having to tell my kids no, not because I want to tell them no, but because I don't have a freaking choice but to tell them no. I'm sick of buying gifts that I'm not even excited about, but it's all I could afford. I'm tired of not being able to take care of my parents the way I want to and not be able to celebrate. I'm tired of not being able to travel. I hate my freaking boss. I hate my coworkers. I don't make enough money. I hate what I do. Guess what? Maybe you could put together a long list of things you're sick of. Easier than the things that you're excited about. Because sometimes we got to get rid of the crap we're sick of in order to get excited about something else. But I will tell you, the first thing on how to sell the dream and how to continue to chase the dream is to be very clear on what you're after. Okay, I was sick of a lot of stuff when I got in business. I was so sick of feeling poor and feeling broke. I was tired of it. I was so tired of paycheck to paycheck. I was so tired of us going to the grocery store on a $50 grocery budget for the month. I was sick of 10 boxes of pasta for $10. But that's what we used to eat. Sometimes it's not about chasing what you want. It's about running away from the stuff you don't want anymore. And if you could just keep this at the front of your mind, then guess what? That's a starting point. That's the starting point for getting what? Getting to a place where you could sell the dream and live the dream while you are living the nightmare. Because here's what we're all doing as leaders. We're promoting something that we believe in, but internally we might be struggling. You may be on the call watching this right now on this podcast going, you know what? I just did a full BPM. I just did a full freaking recruiting presentation, told everybody how great business is. And then you go home and you don't even have money to buy freaking dinner. You know how I know? Because I know people who are in that spot. You just got done doing a presentation and your client's putting in $5,000 a month and your policy's in grace because you can't even fund your own policy. You're about to get a charge back on yourself. You're about to cancel your own app. I've seen people be in that spot. But if you could just stay locked in to the big picture, this is why I started, this is why I'm doing this, then you're on track to get out of it. Number 2, you got to make your coach your best friend. Make your coach your best friend. If you only talk to your coach when things are good, then you're missing the point. You got to be vulnerable. You got to be honest. When you're losing your mind, that's when you lean in. That's when you pick up the phone and call. When you're losing your mind, you don't have to fake it. This is what I want everyone to know. You do not have to fake it with your coach. You could call, you could text, you could be honest. You should not have to pretend like you got it all together. That's not what they're there for. You got to fake it to the whole world if you have to, but you should not have to pretend like you've got it all together with your coach. You got to lean in. Your coach is your safe space. They're your biggest fan. They're your mirror. They're the ones where you could go show them your true colors and they're going to show you exactly what you don't see. That's your coach. And guess what? In most cases, almost every case, your coach has been there before. I've been there before. I remember when I needed my client to say yes. I remember one time, you guys, I'm sitting down at the kitchen table with the client. I'm sitting here. I had a buddy named Victor Chow. This guy used to drive me to all my appointments. He was like my first driver I ever had, but except he drove his mom's Honda minivan. But it's all good because he was like my buddy. And so him and I would go on appointments together. I don't know what I was thinking. I would never do that today. Like, he went in the appointment with me. I remember like yesterday. We're sitting at this lady's house. Her name's Esmeralda. She's still a client of mine to this day. She is the first client I ever closed on my own. Ever. I've told her this story since. I go to her home in Upland, California. We're at a high top kitchen table, but it was only like a 4-seater, except it was against the wall. So it was her on one side, me in the middle, and Vic on the other side. We're sitting there. I'm here. She's to my right. I'm showing her the illustration, showing her the policy. It's so funny. I remember literally like it was literally today. And I remember I've never closed a policy before. And I get to the end and I'm like, does that make sense? She's like, yeah, that looks great, Jay. I love it. This is exactly what I need. I'm like, all right, cool. Nice. All right. Cool. So yeah, like I said, if you put your money in here every month and, I was like, you got it? And she's like, yeah, that makes sense. She calls during every single podcast. You already know who it is. I'm like, yeah, that makes sense. And then she's like, okay, yeah, cool. And I'm like, got it? And she's like, yeah, I got it. I was like, all right. And I kept going in circles because I didn't know how to close. I'd never done it before. I didn't know what to say next. Like, so let's submit an application. Like, I didn't know where to go, so I just kept circling. And I'm like starting to panic and getting all nervous, starting to get all sweaty under my suit jacket. Vic's sitting to the left, and I can tell he's looking at me like, all right, so now what? And so finally, Esmeralda looks at me and she goes, Jay, what do we do now? I want the policy. How do we do it? And I go, oh my gosh, I'm glad you asked, because no one's ever told me yes before. I don't actually know the answer to that. She goes, really? I was like, no one's ever said yes. No one's ever said no either, really, but I just said, like, I'm brand new. But I know this is what you need. She's like, I know it too. She's like, I'm excited to be the first client. Let's fill it out. I'm like, all right, let's fill it out. And I take my computer and I turn it where she can't see the screen. So I'm looking at her. All she sees is the back of the screen. And I opened up Paint. You ever used Paint before? I opened up Paint and I got the little typing cursor and I pretended like I was filling out the application. And I was like, all right, first and last name, birthday, address. I'm just going off my head, all the stuff I could possibly need. Height, weight, cool, social. I put her social into Paint, right? Put it all into Paint because I didn't know how to do the application. She thought we were done. I was like, I'm gonna get you, come back and I'll get a wet signature from you. I just got to go get this stuff processed first. She's like, all right, sounds good. So excited. We took a picture together because she was my first client. I got to find that picture. That would be awesome if I had it. I got to find it. But first one, then I went back to the office and I sat down with my buddy and I'm like, hey, my coach, I sat with him and I'm like, hey man, I closed an app. And I remember his dude named Pablo. He's like, you did? I was like, I closed all by myself. He's like, no way. All right, let me see the app. And I was like, well, I had never done it before, so I didn't have the paperwork with me because back then we had to get a little clear plastic envelope that had paper inside of it. We had to do it on paper, not on electronic. I was like, I got all her info on Paint. He's like, Paint? I was like, yep, Paint. And so then we had to transfer it all to the paper and then go back and get signatures. And I remember when I walked out the house, Vic, I was like, don't celebrate, don't celebrate, don't celebrate, don't celebrate. I just walk normal, walk normal. He's like, dude, we did it. We did it. I was like, I know. I was like, I can't believe it. Let's get out of here before she changes her mind. We got in the car, drove off, and we both turned to each other. Yeah, high five. Friggin' fired up. Listen, you got to keep your coach as your best friend. You got to get so close to your coach. You want to know why? Because when you're losing your mind and you're fired up and you get a good moment like that, and then you go home and you tell your spouse, and your spouse is like, well, how much is that going to pay us? You've been doing this for 3 months and you haven't got paid yet. Oh, it's only going to pay us $1,100. If you were still at your job, you would have made more money than that. But that's good. At least it's a start. And then you just you get punched. And then you get excited. Then you get punched. You're like a boxer who goes in the ring, gets his freaking face punched in and kicked in a UFC fight. That's why they don't do just one long round of 25 minutes. That's why there's rounds, because then you get to go back to your corner and then the cut man's putting you back together and your coach is like, dude, you freaking killed it, man. That was great. Great round. And meanwhile, you look like you got ran over by a train. That's why you have a coach. Okay, that's your safe space. I want everyone to know you weren't built and you're not required to carry everything by yourself in business. That's why you have a coach. Okay, so number one is what? Talk to your coach all day, every single day. Every single day. And don't forget why you started, okay? That's 1 and 2. All right, number 3, keep your dreams where you can see them. Literally, back in the beginning of the career, I used to write my goals on the mirror. On the mirror. In fact, I think we did an episode where Ronnie was talking about how I ruined her best favorite lipstick to write some goals on the mirror recently in the last 6 months. Keep your goals in front of you. I had a point in my career where I was trying to qualify for this trip, and I was also trying to break $15,000 in income for the first time. And I had never made over 15 grand in a month in the business yet. And I grabbed some Sharpie, or not Sharpie, some dry erase markers, and I wrote 15,000 on every freaking reflective piece of glass in the house. 15,000 on everything. It was on the front of the microwave. It was on the mirrors in every single bathroom. I had it on my rear view mirror in my car, 15,000, because I wanted to keep it in front of me. Here's the thing. When you're living the nightmare, you got to be able to see the dream. You got to be able to see the goal, see what it is you're after. So I have a good friend who's a really, really, really good plastic surgeon, one of the best. And they were explaining to me that one of the things she invested so much money into is this software that shows the finished product to someone before they ever even start. That way the pain and the dollars don't scare you away. So for example, if I want to get my nose done, I'm going to go in and I'm going to tell the surgeon, well, this is what I don't like about my nose, and the surgeon's going to take a picture of me, and then they're going to go on the software and they're going to fix it. They're going to fix my nose, and they're going to put my face with the nose that I want, and they're going to show it to me. And here's how they do it. They look and they go, okay, here's you now today. Here's you after we're done and you heal. Here's the price. What do I see in front of me? I see the dream. I see something I've always wanted. Man, that's exactly what I wish I looked like. If I looked like that, I wouldn't be insecure. If I looked like that, I wouldn't be worried about my nose all the time. Man. Wow. And then you know what happens when you're looking at the dream? You're not thinking about the pain? Gone. You're not thinking about the dollars? Gone. They're like, oh, 15,000, 8,000, whatever. You're like, oh, 8,000 to give me everything I've always wanted? Perfect. Sign me up. That's how they do it. Because what does that do? It gives you the vision. When the dream is clear, the price, the pain, the dollars, The journey, the effort, the grind, it all feels worth it when the dream is clear. That's why you got to keep your goals in front of you. Somewhere where you could see them. Somewhere where you could literally tangibly see it and go, that's my future. That's what I'm working towards. That's what I want. That's what I'm going to get. Now, what's the alternative to that? I'm sitting back in my car all by myself thinking about how I just got my face punched in. How I was so excited. I was so pumped. I just got out of Vegas convention, 70,000 people. I got to hang out. We're all excited. We're all living the dream. I'm posting all over the place. Oh, 70,000 people fired up, blah, blah. And then I get home and I go back to reality. I go back to my bills. I go back to the fact that I'm behind. I go back to the fact that I have no money in savings. And now I just spent $2,000 on credit cards to go to Vegas convention. I go back to the fact that like, oh gosh, is it worth it? Am I making a mistake? Is this really what I'm supposed to be doing? I went to college all these years to do something else, and now I'm doing this. I feel like this isn't what I'm supposed to be doing. Okay, want to know where we get all that? We got all that in moments of quiet where doubt creeps in. This is why we got to what? Remember why we started. Stay close to your coach. Have your goals in front of you. Chase the dream, okay? That's a big deal. Number 4, talk about where you're going. You don't have to pretend everything's great. Okay? You don't. You do not have to pretend that everything is perfect. That's not what I'm saying. Just don't spend your time talking about everything that sucks. You don't have to pretend everything is perfect. Just don't spend your time talking about everything that sucks. That's the big thing. I'm talking about where I'm going. I'm talking about what I want. I'm declaring it to the world. This is what I'm working towards. This is what is important to me. You have to say it before you see it. This is really important. When I'm at my job, I'm like, hey, you know what? Yeah, I'm here at my job, but I'm working my way out of here. I'm telling the nurse next to me, like, 6 months, I'm going to be gone. I'm not going to be doing this in 6 months. What do you mean you're not going to be doing this in 6 months? Yeah, I'm not going to be doing this in 6 months. I'm in a position right now to replace my entire nursing income part-time with my business. Just got my license. Just got back from convention. 6 months, I'm going to be out of here. Okay, I'm talking about where I'm going. The words you speak are building your life. As you speak, you create. The things you say are creating the life around you. This is really important. Don't get stuck talking about things that suck. When your friend's like, oh, well, if you were doing so great, then I would join you in business. Like when you start making money, I'll join you. Well, why does your friend know you're not making money? How do they know that? You don't share a bank account with them, so how do they know you're broke? I'll tell you how they know, because you talk about it. Because you talk about, you selling the nightmare. You're not selling the dream. You're selling the nightmare. You're talking about the nightmare. I'm not saying to lie. I'm not saying to go fake your commission checks and Photoshop. I'm not saying any of that. I'm saying talk about where you're going. Don't talk about where you're at. When your buddy goes, well, if you were so great, why aren't you full time? Why are you still teaching if your business is going so well? How do they know you still have a job? They shouldn't know. They're not following you around all day. How do they know you still have a job? How do they know you're not full time? How do they know you're not killing it? They only know what you tell them and what you put out to the world. So be very, very careful what you talk about. Number 5, stack up your wins. Okay? Stack up your wins. The small ones. The little ones. I'm not talking about money. I'm not talking about your title. I'm not talking about your contract. Just stack up the little wins, the little victories. I showed up on time. I sent my messages. I read 10 pages today. I'm working on getting better. That's the scoreboard that matters, you guys. When everything starts to get heavy and everything starts to suck, what matters is my little wins. And I celebrate them all. I was the first one to the office. I was the last one to leave. Killing it. Because where I'm at today is not the final spot. This is not my final destination in business. I'm not retiring today, so it doesn't matter. I'm in business for the long haul. 6 months out, 6 months out, 6 months out, 6 months out. What's life's going to look like in 6 months? That's where I'm in business for. So I'm stacking up little wins. I'm finding every single reason to celebrate. Confidence doesn't come from me getting results. Confidence comes from me getting repetitions in. I could do something one time and close. When I walked out of the Esmeralda's house that day and my buddy wanted to high five me and I wanted to high five him, but we had to look cool because we knew she was watching. We got to pretend like it's not our first time, even though it was, and she knew it. Guess what I was thinking in my head? Dude, we just closed. I was not any more confident than I was before that. Okay? Confidence doesn't come from winning. Confidence comes from reps, from doing things long-term consistently. That's how you build confidence. Okay, it's really important. It's really important that we remember we are setting on a journey to do something long-term. Long-term, not short-term, long-term. 3 years out, 5 years out, 7 years out, 10 years out. I started at 21. I was broke. 15 months later, by 23, because it was right before my birthday when I started, we had crossed six figures for the first time, and then multiple six figures and so on. And then by 30 years old, I was completely financially retired. We never have to worry about anything ever again. That's my story. Now I'm 30. I don't even know how old I am anymore. 35, 36, one of the two, something like that. And guess what? We haven't had to worry about money in a long time. Thank God. And God's been very good to us and blessed our efforts. And we've also done our part to give him something to bless. So if we're just sitting around going, well, yeah, we're trying and we're doing nothing, there's nothing for him to work with. He can do whatever he wants, obviously, but I gotta do my part. And so we've done our part. And I just want you to know that small wins all the way along the way are gonna get you where you're trying to go. It's not gonna happen overnight. I'm in business for the future. Okay. Number 6. This is a hard one for most people. You gotta detach yourself from the outcome and the result. So when I went into medic school, I remember the first time I had a patient die on my watch in the ambulance. I remember it like it just happened. And I remember I finally, when that call was done and cleared and we talked to the family, I called Ronnie and I'm like, dude, whew, that was a lot. That was a lot. And the first thing you learn in medic school is to detach yourself from the outcome, not to become emotionally attached. And I'm sure they teach that in every sector of healthcare. Obviously, you got to have a heart, but don't become emotionally attached because you're just gonna get destroyed. Like I've got friends who work in the ICU. Can you imagine if you struggle with that? Like you're just in constant heartache, taking that home every single day. It's a hard gig. In business, this is a numbers game with real people. Okay. And sometimes they're gonna say no. In fact, it's possible in the beginning of your career that you're going to get told no more than you get told yes. Now, if you ever get to the point where you're getting told yes more than no, then you're doing something really well. But you're going to get told no. And you're not going to get told no because you're wrong or because you're doing it wrong or because you suck. You're sometimes going to get told no just because people aren't ready to say yes and it's not a good fit for them. And that's just part of the game, you guys. Here's where it matters. Don't let rejection become your identity. Don't let rejection become what you're expecting. You don't want rejection to become your expectation because you get told no so often. You got to grind anyways. The appointment today at 2:00 is not attached to the appointment tomorrow at 3:00. So just because this guy told me no today doesn't mean I should be expecting a no tomorrow. Okay? The people who make it in business don't get lucky. They don't. It's not because of luck. The people who are making it because they don't stop swinging the bat. They don't stop putting in the repetitions like I talked about earlier. They don't stop trying. That's why they make it. They don't make it because everyone says yes. They make it because every time they get told no, they keep on moving to the next appointment. Every time they get quit on, they keep on moving. Every time they're sitting in their car after what they thought was going to be a great day, the amount of days that I woke up with 6 or 7 or 8 appointments to close policies, and this is going to be the best record day of my career, and like all 7 cancel somehow, even though they're not related to each other, even though they're all don't even know each other, somehow it just happens. The amount of days that my day went from amazing, where I was like, dude, I'm going to be lucky if I even get lunch today, to where I could have sat at the hometown buffet for 12 hours because everyone canceled. Like the amount of days that I experienced that. And then I sat in my car and went, what in the hell just happened? How did that even happen? Jeez. I thought I finally had something going on, and then poof, gone. Do over and over again, you guys. Over and over again. Guess what? Don't stop swinging. How much time we in? 29 minutes? Sweet. We'll do part 2 on this one too. Yeah, we'll do part 2 because I got some points I wrote down I don't want to skip. Yeah, we're gonna end with that. But here's what I want you to know. Listen, when it starts to get hard, that's the spot where most people give up. And that's the difference. Every single person who comes in business is going to have times when it gets hard. And then every person's going to have times where the day was a win and times when the day was a loss. Every person's going to have times where everyone said yes and times where everyone said no. Every person is going to have times where everything feels good and confident and times when they just have zero confidence and they don't even know why. Everyone has that. And I believe that everyone has an appointment with success, that's how God designed it. That if you have something in your heart that God put in your heart and it's a dream, it's going to happen eventually. I believe that 1,000%, because it wouldn't be fair for it not to be that way. And I think God wants everyone to live a great life and have a blast and be able to experience all those blessings. But guess what? Along that journey, everyone, this is not an exception for anybody. Everyone is going to have a spot where it gets hard over and over again. It still gets hard for me to this day. It's just different things that are hard. Different challenges, different drama, different BS you got to deal with. Everyone's going to experience times when it gets hard. The difference is that's the spot where 98% of people quit. And because they quit, they never experience all the wealth and all the riches and all the blessings and all the fun and all the awards and rewards and all the prestige and just everything you could ever want that comes from getting to the top of your industry, that comes from getting even to the top half of your industry. Most people never experience that because they quit when it got hard. They go, oh, it's hard, I should quit. Oh, it's hard. Oh, that means it's a sign it's not for me. No, that's a bunch of crap. It's a sign that you're doing something right. You think if you're just sitting on the couch all day doing nothing, collecting your 9-to-5 paycheck, eating freaking Doritos and getting fat, the devil's going to be attacking you? No, because you're not a threat. You're not a threat to anything better. You're not moving the family forward. So you just sit there all day long and have no drama because you're not a threat. But when you start getting up and you start bettering yourself and chasing the goal and chasing the dream, even though you're living the nightmare, but you're sick of living the nightmare, so you're chasing the dream. When you start doing that, guess what happens? That's when things get hard because you're trying to level your life from here to here. And there's friction between here and here. You got to push through that. You got to break through that. You can't quit in that spot. So that spot where everyone quits, when you're sitting in your car, I want you to remember this. When you're sitting in the car, frustrated, anxiety's at a 10, panicking, freaking out, self-doubt, getting rejected, punch from your friend who told you you're in a scam, left hook from your auntie who said, stop calling and bugging all the family. Your family doesn't want to hear about your crap. Your boss at work tells you something, and then your spouse is the worst of them all. Let's just pretend, okay? Hopefully not. But if it's true, this episode's for you because we've been there. And when you're in that spot, I want you to remember that if you do these things, you can still pursue the dream while living the nightmare. Every person who built something great experienced some form of a nightmare through the process, but they didn't quit. All right, you guys, thanks for your time. Thanks for the support always. All of you who share the posts, share the reels, tag us, it means a lot. It really does. It genuinely means a lot. As always, I will remind you, we are doing social media profile audits just to help you with your recruiting and your branding. If you're a part of the Goat Sledge, if not, you could go on to my Instagram. If someone just shared this with you and you're new to the podcast and to the show, you could go on my social media, send me a message. I respond to everybody. By the way, if you have messaged me in the last month and I didn't respond to you, it's because I didn't get it. My Instagram, for some reason, had a glitch. I had not gotten messages for about a month and a half. It was like a black hole. I finally discovered it because I went on a different profile that I have and I messaged myself and it said delivered and I never got it. I finally, I believe, got it fixed. And so if you've been messaging, please message me again. I never saw it. I respond to everybody and try to make time for you. And as always, we love all the support. We appreciate you. We're only going to do our best to put out the best, and we will see you soon.